Hello there, I am StomTech. Today I'm going to be making a very basic, very beginner-friendly introduction to coding, particularly in Python. A lot of this stuff can be applied to other languages too, but for the most part we're going to be sticking with Python. I've noticed that there has been a distinct lack of beginner-level programming introduction tutorial videos on YouTube, so that's why I'm making this, just to hopefully fill that void. So, here we're going to be working with Python. This is version 3.13.3, I think. In the future, this is probably going to be like 14 or 15, but a lot of this still should be the same. So, yeah, let's get started. I'm not really going to be talking about the setup process for Python. That's not what this video is about, and there's a lot of different ways you can set it up, such as in Visual Studio. Visual Studio is the most famous one, but that requires a lot more work, and we're not going to be covering that here. Right now, I am working in the IDLE shell provided with the Python when you download it. So we're going to be working with this. It's super simple. If you're having issues putting together the setup stuff on something like Visual Studio, then just type into your search prompt IDLE shell, and then you'll find this and come to it. You just pop right open. So this is just for people who really need the very simple introduction to coding. So let's get started. So first, let me tell you what's happening. Over here, this is the shell, this is the output, so whenever you do code stuff, it's all going to show up over here for the most part, unless you're like drawing stuff. I'll open up a separate for that, but this is just going to be output where everything comes in. Over here, this is your file. This is where you actually write your coding and stuff. So to start off, you want to do file and then click new file and then save that new file. I'm not going to show it because there's some personal information that shows up, but yeah, you click new file, then you save it somewhere, preferably create a new folder so you know where it is. And then, save that, it'll open this up, and then you can just start coding. So right now we're really gonna be talking about variables, also known as data types. So there's a few different kinds of variables. Start off very simple is the boolean. Boolean is the 0 and 1, the true or false. This is the most binary. This is true binary. Whenever you're working with booleans and working with true or false, a lot of times you can even swap out the words for the numbers. So false can be 0 and true can be 1. A lot of times that will actually compile. So, next up we have int, integer. Super simple. It's just a number with no decimals. It can be positive or negative or 0. Just a number with no decimals. And now a float. A float is a number with decimals. It has to have the decimals. So like even if you don't have a decimal after, it's still gonna turn to like 6. If you have an integer of 6 but you make the float, it'll be 6.0. So it's the same thing with integer, where if you have 6.0, then it'll just become 6. And if you for some reason put a float into an integer, it will always round the number. Pretty sure it always rounds down. So if you're like 6.7, it'll just send it down to 6. So next up, float. Now we have char. We're not really going to be working with char in this. Char is essentially just a letter. It is literally just a letter. So you just do, that's all there is to it. It's just a letter. It cannot be more than one letter. It's only just one letter. And then when you see these quotations here, these quotations they just determine they just tell the computer that it is in fact a letter and not something else. And they're pretty interchangeable. You can also do the double quotes and single quotes, and it'll start the same. So yeah. So there's your introduction to variables. It is super simple. So let's actually put them together. So this is a simple function. Well, not a simple function, just a simple. Well, technically it's a function, but when I get into that, a super simple line print hello world. Now, as you probably know, this is the most basic one. As you can see, it shows up over here. So print hello world shows up over there. So this is what's called a string, which really is a combination of a bunch of characters that are, like a grocery list. You have a grocery list, and then it's just the letters on down. Computer says that it's like this. So you have this. What we're going to be doing, and this is a little bit different in other languages like C, but we're going to define the variables like this. So we have boolean test. This is the name of the variable. This can be whatever the heck you want it to be. Just for simplicity reasons, we're going to name it boolean test. And what you want to do is you want to put equals to tell the computer what it's going to be equal to, and then I'm going to do true. This tells it that it is in fact a boolean, and you can also just make it false. Just make sure you capitalize this. In C# or C, this will be lowercase, but Python is uppercase. So now we're going to make an integer int test, which is equal to, I don't know, 50. That tells the computer that you're making an integer, and its name will be int test. Then we're going to make a float test equal to 56.3 or whatever. And then we're going to be making a character, which is char test equal to 8. Super simple. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this part into print hello world. We're going to get rid of it, and we're going to put in int test. See? Like that. Save. And then, I guess I also forgot to mention, you can't really see it, but up at the top is going to be a run. You click run module, and it's going to ask you to save, and you just press save, and then it'll just run the program. If there's any errors, it'll just show you and highlight. So anyway, here's our output. You see it becomes 50. The variable that's happening is you're running the print function. You are calling int test, and int test is 50. There's no difference between taking int test 50 and then just running that. See, it's the exact same. But int test, what the variables do is they allow you to modify and change it, and then the computer will remember. This all gets stored into memory, and the computer will remember everything with the variables and stuff. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction to functions so that you can really see what I mean. So, quick explanation as to what a function is. A function in code is like, you have a recipe, right? That's your overall instructions to your code. And your computer is looking at that recipe. Your computer is like the baker. Let's say you're making like lemon meringue pie or something. It's looking at this recipe that you made. But within that recipe is another smaller recipe that tells you how to make, like, I don't know, like the meringue, or something, whatever you want. There's like a sub recipe inside of the main recipe that tells the computer how to actually make it. So that's what a function is. The function is that sub recipe. So how do we make a function? We go def. This is in Python, by the way. This other language is a little bit different, but in Python you go def, and you make the function name, and you want to put these parentheses. These parentheses are, we won't talk about it in this one, but they basically tell the computer the inputs. So when you're passing something into it, when you're trying to input something to the function, it does something with it. We're not really going to showcase that here. That's a little bit. We're keeping it simple this one. So we're going to put a colon. This tells it this is a function, and now you see that there is an indent right here. So basically, everything that is indented here, as long as every line is continuously an indent, it will all be part of this one function. So let's just say int test is equal to 80, and then return int test. So let's just say like that. Now, what if it's not a continuous string of indents? So if we delete that and put bool test is equal to false, you'll see that it'll actually error. It shows the error right here, but it's actually right here because it needs to be continuous because it goes outside the function. So then the computer thinks that the function is actually done right here. So you don't want to do that. So we have it like this. So now, quick explanation as to return. Return is basically, this basically tells the computer this is what the output should be. So when you run the function, like let's say you're making that lemon meringue pie, and the computer looks at that meringue recipe, sub recipe within the main recipe, and then it does everything, and then it returns the meringue. It returns it. You know, that's what it gets from following the sub recipe. Okay. So say that. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here. We're gonna print. We're gonna call that function, and for simplicity's sake, we're actually gonna just for a better differentiation between the two, we're gonna make this float test. So we're gonna run that. Oops, I forgot to give parentheses. You also want to put the parentheses in when you're doing the function, because you know the inputs and all that. Otherwise, you're gonna get this. This is the address of the function within the memory. Like this just tells you where it's located. That's a little bit too complicated for right now, but you know, later video. So we're gonna run it again. As you can see, 56.3, and then it becomes 80 because in test goes from 50 and then it becomes 80 when we call this function, and then it follows the recipe and then it gets 80 and then returns it. This is the output, and then we print it and it continues with the recipe to print out 80. You know, super simple stuff. And this can be applied to all the other variables. Functions are not just with the with integers. Like you can make this char test. We're gonna make this hello world. And we're actually gonna make this one. We make this char test. And we make this function test. And we run that. Oh wait, gotta make sure you change the output. See, A and hello world. See? Super simple. I hope this helped you. It has helped you in some way. Main thing about coding is that you want to do a lot of experimenting. So this is just an introductory video into coding. I can't do everything and cover everything for you because it's just how big coding is. So when you're progressing along and thinking about coding, the main thing you want to do is you want to keep experimenting at it, and you want to keep working and see like what is working and what isn't working within your code. So I hope this helps you in some way, and yeah, that's pretty much all from me for this video. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Subscribe, you know, and yeah, peace.